Hello and welcome to Big Talk live from the Nigeria City of Power, Abuja. My name is Adikan Michael. Tonight we'll continue to look at development in the country. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Netawe Yoadata, has raised the alarm that some politicians were bent on scuttling the federal government's conditional cash transfer. He was speaking and he said that politicians wanted to influence the social register for poor Nigerians who are entitled to the conditional cash transfer. He said the government target 15 million poor households with over 75,000 naira. According to him, politicians are trying to politicize the exercise for their personal interests. He, however, said such politicians will be disappointed as his ministry will not bend to external influence, noting that there were other partners involved in the program. Quoting on the words of the minister, he said that it's a partnership between House and the international community. The World Bank is also involved, the civil society organizations are involved, and it's not just a ministry activity. When he was trying to throw more light on the pressure on his ministry to bend for political reasons, he said that some people want us to bend and allow the governors or the state to just generate the list and send. It's a conditional transfer. Conditions are attached to qualifying to benefit from the social safety net, saying that they will not bend to allow any political affiliations or attachments to this conditional cash transfer. Now, poverty doesn't know political parties. Poverty doesn't know tribes. Poverty doesn't even understand the grammar we are blowing. A poor person is a poor person. Tonight, we will extract that development. What is the intentions of government? We saw the issue of conditional cash transfer at the last administration. Some persons are asking, how far did that approach work in terms of alleviating poverty in the country and cushioning the effects of the hardship confronted by many Nigerians? Tonight, I'm being joined by Ifeanyi Raymond, SL to the immediate past Minister of Women Affairs. Is live here on the show tonight. Thanks so much, my brother, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, my brother, for having me once again.
Yes, it's been a while. The last time we counted, you were very busy in the Ministry of Human Affairs, and it was very hard to have you on the show. But thanks so much for joining us and coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I would love to ask, how is the immediate past minister?
Oh, she's fine and beautiful like always, and she's very good. She's doing well, and we're so happy.
Is she perturbed about all those things that she was advocating for?
Yes. If you look at her social media handles, you will see where she's posting the continuous fight for women, where she's even taking some cases to court by herself, and she's following up some cases that started during her administration. So she's still active on the ground, and she's still ensuring that women are considered first when it comes to social investment.
A lot to be worried. I mean, you've had an idea about the government of the day, the agenda of this government. And we'll look at the past issues of conditional cash transfer.
Yes.
It has come up again. Some said we can't continue to give palliative and it's not sustainable. It's not really working. But government are having an intention that there are some poor Nigerians that needs all of this support. What is your judgment about this conditional cash transfer?
To be very honest with you, thank you for this question, because it's been something that has been pressing in this country for a while, not even in this administration. It has started a long while, and there has been a lot of controversies around conditional transfer, cash transfer. Why? Because the average Nigerian believes that this money doesn't get to those that deserves it. They believe that this money are not even rooting down to the areas that they need it. And people will tell you, let me show you my bank account, and I've never seen anyone kobo from the federal government. We need to change that narrative. We need to improve, because the main purpose of that conditional transfer, cash transfer, is not to really, let's say, take you to become a billionaire or billionaire. No, it is aimed at subsidizing the heat on economic crisis that the poor face. Although there are little advantages to it, and much more advantage to it, because when somebody doesn't even have 1,000 naira to buy bread and eat, and the person suddenly receives 100,000 naira. You know, at that moment, the person feels relaxed, feels happy, but he has to also work hard to also get more resources. So I think to a relatively good length, it has been to an advantage, but there are some improvements that we must discuss and push forward for it. Yes.
All right, in a bit of getting to understand how better this can work in terms of the system put in place, we can begin to trace, because from the minister, he was really saying that he won't, I mean, some people are trying to allow, I mean, us to ban, quoting on his words. Some people want us to ban and allow the governors or the states to generate the list and send it. It's a conditional transfer. Conditions are attached to qualifying for the social safety net. So we will not bend to allow any political affiliation or attachment to this conditional cash transfer. That poverty doesn't know political parties and it doesn't know tribe. Some persons have really questioned the means on how interventions of government are getting to the grassroots. Have you seen some videos during the issue of rice and palliative?
Yes.
Some persons are hoarding these.
Yes, in warehouses.
Warehouses and all of these things. And sometimes people cannot, I mean, if we want to blame the government said we had sent it to the state.
Yes.
Also transmitted
It's
to the
meant to,
local
yes,
government.
yeah.
But do you feel that there should be other means of distribution?
Yes, you know, let me be honest with you. This has been a very serious issue that we need to start addressing. And luckily for us, we're in the technology world. We are now in a modern era where even artificial intelligence is at play. We have technological devices to help us record data, know who is at where and who exactly is located where. So I think the issue has not always been the federal government. The states are always also to be blamed. Like you mentioned, some of these palliative are actually sent by the federal government to the states, because the federal government cannot be everywhere. So you will send to the state will now disburse to the local government will now disburse down to the end user. Now the issue here is you have complications of politics where people want to selfishly siphon these palliatives to themselves. Now, I think me being in government and seeing how the system works, I would definitely recommend that the government start, digitalizing these distribution strategies, where we'll be the ones to send this directly to the end users from the federal. And it's very simple, because when you look at the federal system also has offices in the states where they also operate. So I think the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs need to adopt a robust data system that can identify each region, identify possible warehouses, and create a structure of distribution where we, the federal, can directly distribute this food, so that we don't have cases of where people will say, oh, they gave 1,000 bags of rice, not even one went to the poor. So this is the things that we need to start.
Because we've not heard people come out to give testimony.
Yes, exactly. People are still, yes, and you hear 2 million stuff distributed and people are crying, although there are some that actually get to the people, and
but
there
the
is
6 is not
yes,
reflecting the number,
yes,
which
of
was the intentions.
Exactly. So this is where we need improvement, to see the record and the data that shows that, oh, these people actually distributed it. Evidence. We need to work with evidence. We need to work with a decentralized system where we can get to every single person, no matter where you are. So it just requires coordination. Once you have a good coordination and a good framework at place, this is nothing. It's something that can be done.
Data is important.
Very.
And looking at Nigeria, have been really having a concern towards our national population. We can't really say the number we have. Some said over 200 million people, some said 200 million people. And when you look at the definition of poorest of the poor, can we say the number of the poorest of the poor? How do we even get to determine how important is data in respect to this?
It's very important, my brother. And I must tell you, data is the vital tool when it comes to any sustainable development of any country. You must know what you have in your country. You must know who needs what. Because even there was a time I was watching the UK new rule where they are trying to reduce the pension of those that earn more than so amount of pounds. So that means they even have data of pensioners that earn this and that. That means a system is working. Now, when it comes to Nigerian system, we should have a data to know absolutely those that are in the poor category. And when you talk about poor, you talk about the income. What kind of income, range of income does these people earn? And what kind of profession are they in? Are they unskilled workers? Are they, the minimum wage now is 70,000 naira. So there is no way you tell me anybody should be earning less than 70,000 naira in the country. So that means you should have a bracket of the middle class. Also, you have a bracket of the rich. There was a time I saw a data that was stating that in Nigeria you have up to 100, and if we're 200 million, that 150 million are poor, while 50 million are just the rich and the middle class. And relatively, when you look at what is happening at the grassroots level, you will not deny this fact, because when you go to the local government, that is where people presume that you see people that are poor, or you see people that are low-income earners. I'll use the word low-income earners. So now, when you look at the low-income earners, we need to know what sector are they in, what situation are they in, what are the major things they need. Because some people might have food, they are low-income earners, but they might have food, but they don't have shelter. They might have shelter, they don't have food. So now when we categorize all this, that is when the interventions can be more effective to those that deserve it the more. And data system is the only tool that can give us a clear picture of what we need to achieve. I must tell you.
I mean, when you get to looking at these stories of the poor, some said some of them are deprived because they do not have access to the digital assets, because what government are also looking at relying on the NIDAS, the national identification number, farm verification number. I mean, they're trying to digitalize the whole process. And some person said some of these poor persons, in the rural communities, do not have access to their banks, they do not have access to their BVN and the NIN. What other means can be done, or do you also feel that there's a whole lot of job to be done, because digitalization, the gap between digitalization and Nigeria is still very far.
So now, thank you for bringing that up. This is where we now come to the fact that we have a federal system where things are meant to be decentralized. We have the federal, we have the state. Now, the most important tool of this federal system is the local government, because the local government are the ones directly to the people. Now, what have the federal achieved? The federal has been able to give the local government autonomy to be able to assess their resources and implement it judiciously to the betterment of their people. Now, what are we talking about? NIN, BVN. These are the things that local government can comfortably handle in registering people in their local government, getting a center up. Those that don't have these stuffs, come and register so that you be in the central base of the system. And now, people might not have access to phone, people might not have access to technology. That doesn't necessarily mean that they shouldn't have access to banking system and they shouldn't have access to NIN, because that is the function of the government to provide these basic amenities. So the local government is the one we are taxing. Set up these centers, encourage people to enroll, make sure that you are key factor player when it comes to palliative distribution, when it comes to subsidies to certain goods in the local government, so that through you as the local government system, we must make sure we capture every single individual and citizen in your local government. Don't forget, every single sector has a local government in Nigeria. It is 774. That means every map currently where we are sitting is a local government, is an area. So every single place has someone that is in charge of just that particular area. So it shouldn't be something that should be much of a tussle to achieve. Yes.
I mean, before we now get to the issue of local government and this conversation, sometimes some person said Nigerians are very far disconnected from what governments are doing. Looking at the role civil society can play, the media can play and all of that. Sometimes government are carrying out some of these things and projects without really integrating the people. We've seen distributions without really consultation. But this minister said that it will be involving the civil society organizations just to be able to draw the closeness, of what they're doing. Because you look at the budgets of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, it looks at that ministry was designed to respond, to the challenges that we
to
are
poverty
having today.
affiliations of Nigeria.
So if they have been carrying out a lot of projects and still Nigerians are saying we can't feel the impact, and we don't know what you're doing, they're even distancing themselves from whatever is operational. Are you worried about that?
I'm very, very worried, because that means the interventions are not working. And if the interventions are not working, then what are we doing? What is really happening? So if Nigerians are still complaining that they don't have access to these amenities, that they cannot access these conditional transfers, they cannot access the palliatives, we must rethink. They are the ones that these are made for. So if the end users are saying, I don't have it, you must rethink. You must go back to your drawing board. That is why you have the Financial Crimes Commission to trace all these problems. That is why you have a lot of agencies to monitor. Most importantly, the CSO, because they are independent organizations on their own that nobody says jack to them. They are in charge of their policies. So they are the ones that are meant to be the eye, the watchers, the monitor and evaluation experts to monitor and trace and track these palliatives. And now, remember, when the government says that, they have distributed this, truly they have distributed it. But like I told you, there are systems in place for them to get to the end users. Now, those middle people, those people that are in the middle sector that are meant to push it down to the final users, are the ones that we need to really question. Why are these products not getting to those that it deserves to get it? And there should be a lot of citizen engagement when it comes to distribution of palliative. For example, let's say we are distributing to Enugu State, palliatives to Enugu State. After the distribution and it's recorded that it is done, there should be a group of civil society, government agencies, the media, everybody to go down to that area, interview 1, 2, 3 or 4 people, live evidence saying that I received this, I did not receive that. Like, for example, the NEL fund that is going on for children, for students' education. How many team has gone to those schools that we believe that has been dispersed to interview the vice chancellor, to interview the students, to check, is this really happening? That is what they call monitoring and evaluation. So we need to adapt and learn best practices. The government is ready to work. The citizens need to help the government also to work.
And that evaluation can help them, build upon,
yes,
exercises.
Exactly.
Because most of the time, we're talking about 2025 budget. Going back to 2024, how much have we achieved with the budget and the target that we have? And now that government has approved 4 billion naira for this conditional cash transfer, it's raising a lot of concern. But this is what the minister said, that there is a need to validate the entire register to ensure that the right people benefit. He's saying that we will authenticate their locations, houses and GPS to coordinate to confirm their existence and poverty status.
Exactly. That is the best thing to do. And I think this minister is a smart man, because there is no way your registrar has been, that is the tricky thing in this. You cannot be using a registrar that was developed in 1960 to keep doing conditional transfer.
Even 2019. Because
you cannot, yes.
All the data
yes.
Names were
I'm just being ironically saying 1960. Even 2023.
Yes.
You cannot use a data system, a registrar system that you use in 2023.
Because some of them are no more alive and no existence.
Thank you. Some of them have moved. Some of them have relocated. Some of them have left the country. You need to consistently update your registrar. Consistently check who and who is existing. Consistently check what has this even impacted. The conditional transfer we did before, how has it helped this particular group of people? Have you interviewed them? Have you checked the improvement in their socio-economic life? These are the key value things that we need to consider. And the registrar is very important, because you don't tell me that you keep using the registrar you have used 5 years or 4 years, 3 years ago, and still use it currently. No, it doesn't work, because most of these people, when you send the money to the bank, they don't even access it, because maybe the account has been shut down, something has happened, or one way or the other. And that is why we have the NIN. The NIN is a tool for you to identify every Nigerian. So what do? Get each NIN get their location, look for the officers down to that are the system, verify these people, check if these people are alive, check if these people have access to this, and you move on. So I think the minister is on the right track when he's talking about reviewing the register.
So it's important to resolve all of these issues
Yes.
even before the implementation. Because social indices, we'll look at issue of water, healthcare, education, and economic facilities, judging by poorest of the poor, access to water, access to healthcare. There's still a more gap. And even education, we are seeing growing number of school children and access to water, even the healthcare. Do you feel that the ministry alone, can fight and resolve this? Yes, I understand the importance and the need for state government and the local government. What should be done? Because some will blame the policies of the federal government, for instance.
Exactly.
Subsidy removal. Subsidy removal has increased the number of inflation to where we are, about 34% that we have today, and has put a lot of Nigerians back, to the poverty line. And that some state will say, irrespective of what we do, we are still being confronted with inflation. But how do we begin to do this? Government said they have increased allocation to state. And state said the increase of allocation is met by inflation. So things that were bought, as a this amount the previous year
has been tripled. Yes.
So how do we manage all of these? Because access to water is important, access to healthcare is important. These are the things that we must begin to fix. So as to address the issue of poverty in the country.
Thank you for that. I will start by saying one of the most important things that we need to note is that there is not a single entity that is meant to work alone. This Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is not meant to be an entity that works alone. It's meant to work with other MDAs, relevant agencies around it that should be implementing these key policies. For example, Ministry of Water, for example, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health. Now, there should be a joint unit and task force that should be ensuring that these major issues that are facing Nigerians, facing the youths, the women, the children, they should be addressed. And how are they addressed? For example, you mentioned water. I heard, I just recently got a briefing and a report that there is a current water crisis in Jos, in Plateau State. Now, that is when the government needs to sweep in. NEMA, the National Emergency System Management Agency, needs to sweep in, provide access to clean and sustainable water. That is why you see when the LA fire started in Los Angeles, did you see the total response system? Did you see how the federal worked with the state and the state worked with the mayor? That is how the system should work. Every single problem has a solution. It's just a little thing but coordination. How do we coordinate each other? How do we harmonize our efforts to ensure that this stuff works? For example, Ministry of Water. By now, Ministry of Water should have a data dashboard measuring where there are lack and issues of water in the country. Now, they look for agencies, water boards, river basins, relevant MDAs that can help facilitate access to water to those facilities. Because I must assure you, the president has raised the 2025 budget. Why? To be able to address the core critical issues Nigerians are facing. So we must put this 2024 budget is still running. How do we make sure that this budget is being helpful to the development of an average Nigerian? So there must be harmonization and there must be total coordination. Even the primary health systems, there should be a total revamp of the primary health systems, especially the ones in forgotten areas. They are deeply, oh God, when you go there, you will not believe what your eyes will see. So the government, the system needs to have a very good, robust central system to coordinate all this, see what is working, see where the issue is, and fix it as needed. So it's very important for coordination to happen.
I mean, in the words of the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, he said, these out-of-school children are posing a security threat for us in the future. we've looked at that over and over again. I think we've actually had you can actually address this out of school compulsory education, but it's still a gap. We're still having the number increase. Questioning who should be held responsible and how can this be stopped, because by exposing these young ones, to the street early enough, some of them are actually finding some other things, engagement, and sometimes posing a lot of insecurity towards.
Yes, that is actually true, because when you look at even the issues of Boko Haram, and when you look at the terrorist groups that were caught, we realize that most of them were children. Most of them are out-of-school children. Now, when you look at out-of-school children, the minions, the consequences to the society cannot even be measured. It cannot be compared to none, because it is a decay to the society. And it doesn't affect now. Those that didn't go to school 10 years ago are the ones that were facing their problems now. And currently the ones that are here will face their problem in the next 10 years to come. So it must stop. Now, coming to those responsible, I think the whole of society is responsible for this, because I believe that the federal system, the government, the president has made a lot of subsidized amenities from the federal to see that every child is in school. And the NELO fund, like I mentioned, which is the student loan, is a very beautiful and powerful scheme, and I must commend the administration for that, because the government is trying to find a way to ensure that no single child has an excuse not to be in school. Now, let us start from the smallest unit of the family, the family. How can you be a family unit and you don't send your child to school? Because of poverty, most say. Poverty is one of the major causes. They don't have money to afford to send their children to school. Now, what have you done as a parent? Have you assessed government schools available to you? Like when you go to Enugu now, Enugu State, the governor is revamping the schools, trying to make the schools green smart schools, where government schools can be matched or better than private schools. Now, what does this tell you? The standard of government schools are increasing. Now, on the government side, under the Minister of Education, how well have we ensured that these government schools are actually school free, no fees paid, the fees are free, and every tiny amenity that is needed is subsidized by the government? How do we ensure that? Simply by ensuring that we tap into the local government autonomy that was placed, because the local government autonomy should be something that they should start applying at the local government systems to subsidize the schools in that local government that are owned by the government. So this all needs a proper planning. These strategies of out-of-school children is something that all stakeholders must come on board, look for the root causes. Recently I heard the Minister of FCT, Mr. Nelson Wike, is also arresting beggars on the streets, and they are stopping beggars. That should be applied to out-of-school children also. When you see a child on the street, why are you not in school? Who is your parent? Let us know why you are not in school. Let us see the causes of why this is. So when there is consequences, like the Minister of Women Affairs always said, Barrister Uju, when there are consequences, that is when people learn. That is when people limit what they do. Because when you pay the price of not sending your child to school, tomorrow you will not have any excuse not to send them. And that's what one of the projects the minister wanted to do was based on that school, out-of-school children, where we want to make sure that we revamp and we totally wipe that issue of up to 22 million children that are not in school. We need to fix this problem. CSO should come on board, government should come on board, private sector should come on board, and the private schools should also try and find a way to reduce their school fees, because it's a current problem amongst parents, where school fees is so high that they don't know what else to do but to put their children to hawking. That shouldn't be allowed. Child labor is a risk. So there's a lot of things to be considered right here.
I mean, that goes to how a lot of private sectors are still struggling currently. There are those that are really having a concern on the state of economy, because when you look at the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, the minister said we are looking at over 280 billion now to create some jobs in the country. And those that have said, look, government cannot really create all jobs, and do all of those things. There's a need for private sector to work. And some private sectors are being confronted with, issues of electricity, the inflation, and all of those concerns. Because you just mentioned that of schools. So some those schools will tell you we're running electricity.
Exactly. The foodstuffs
the foodstuffs are also high. So we're also trying to survive, because it's also a business and it's a private venture. And of course, so let's talk about the economy, the state of economy. We've seen a lot of reforms made by this government. This government looks to say we inherited a bad economy and we are trying to set the path for our economic sustainability. But Nigerians have asked who's sacrifice, who is at the receiving end in all of those things. Nigerians feel that the hardship is biting so hard, even when government are still assuring that they are aware of the hardship and they are working out things to resolve them. Do you feel that there should be more rapid approach in resolving these things rather than continuous statement of exercise patience, give us more time, we'll resolve these issues?
Yes, that's a very good one, because this issue has been lingering since 2023. Immediately the president took over.
Subsidy gone.
Yes, that was the major huge rock that was placed on Nigerians. And the president has come out timelessly to say that there is no other time that needs to be done than now. We must remove the subsidy. That is the greatest test the country is facing. Over 3 trillion naira going to where we don't even know. So we need to understand that it takes time to actually repair and rebuild. And it's very important for us to also know that the administration is doing its best to promote good business environment for everyone, and when you look at it, you realize that when it comes to the economic situation in the country, there are different factors that are contributing to it. Like you mentioned, fuel subsidy is just one of it. Dollar exchange is also part of it, where goods are imported and it's very expensive. Foodstuffs that are grown locally are being inflated because they believe that transportation, which comes from the fuel, is also a factor. Now, since the fuel subsidy is a major issue, I think the number one thing that we need to address is looking for a way to kind of rebuild back both the fuel system, which the president has been stressing and promoted the uptake of Dangote refinery. Because we believe that once Nigeria revamps its refineries, for example, we have the NNPC refinery that is now working in Port Harcourt, the Owerri own is back to be fixed. These are the steps, that immediate step that needs to take, the federal government needs to take to ensure that these problems are also curtailed. And now, another part to curtail it is raising the minimum wage, where we believe that the minimum wage is something that can help subsidize the problem that we're facing in the country. And also, even in the agricultural system. So all this we need to keep doing and keep pushing, I believe.
We'll go on a very quick break, everyone. The minister says poverty does not know tribes. Poverty doesn't even understand how the grammar we are blowing. A poor person is a poor person. There's poverty in the country. Do stay with us. Once we return from the break, we'll be finalizing that conversation. I'll be right back. Policies and political actors are in the news every day, all day. And on our part, we guide you through the noise and get you to the heart of the matter. Big Talk is your home of all-angle analysis of the top political stories. Airing weekdays on Global TV, 7 p.m. Big Talk, engaging and insightful. An urgent need for collaboration to resolve the current economic issues is still on the top. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs is coming out very strong this time, saying, "I will resist every attempt by politicians to derail or scuttle the social register and influence the political interference in the cash transfer scheme of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu." Over 4 billion naira have already been allocated for the conditional cash transfer. It is getting more worrisome about the fact that sometimes government intentions are not what is, are not the reality on ground. Some Nigerians are distancing themselves from even the previous scheme on not being beneficiaries. That has raised a lot of concern. That's the reason why we're having that conversation tonight. Ifeanyi is still with us. He's Esther Turimide Paz, Minister of Women Affairs. He has a whole lot of knowledge surrounding this concern. Let's resolve the issues of the economy, because yes, we've undergone the fact that it's important. The minister said, I will try as much as possible to resolve all of those loopholes, because it's like a loopholes. You put in the money and it still passes through all of those means. In general, for the generality of the economy, of the situations in this country, what ways and how can Nigerians begin to work? Because private sectors have continued to make a whole lot of calls. They've lamented. Recently, tariff, the telecom sectors are also coming with their own complaint. And government had to say, for telecommunication to survive, there should be an increase of about 50%. And Nigerians have been reacting. 50% is too much in this economy. We cannot survive this. So it looks that everything are just coming at a time. And it goes back to question how government can resolve issues of inflation, economic issues, the pressure on the economy.
Yes. I must say you are absolutely right. These are the current issues that we're facing, national issues. And let me not lie to you, it is quite terrible to some household because some people are dying. I've seen someone collapsing on the street because of hunger, no money to buy food, bread is expensive, everything is expensive. But we must not derail, we must not step back, we must keep pushing, we must find a way out of it. Let me tell you something. This issue of inflation is globally, and it started after the COVID-19, where the international trade system was disrupted, and it caused a lot of chaos to the world. Now Nigeria is in it, facing it. Now the function of the government is to curtail it, look at all the physical policies around it, and make sure that we find a common ground for the average Nigerian. Now, I must tell you that the government might have a lot of files on their desks to fix this. The citizens also need to be part of the fixing, because when you go to the market, let me tell you, you see some people, they intentionally put prices that are unbearable to the customers, not because these are the current situation they are in, but they believe that they can make triple times the profit that they should make because of the so-called economic crisis. Now this ends up repelling and affecting the end user. Now what are we talking about when it comes to the hardship people are facing? The government, to reduce the inflation is something that is very critical, and you must do it in a very, very mindful way, where we're looking at, you talk about production. What is the production output of Nigeria? What are we producing within the country that doesn't necessarily need to be inflated? What local foodstuffs. Why is it being expensive? Then government would jump in to find subsidies. The real meaning of subsidy is to curtail the actual inflation of such products. Find subsidies to retail these transportation systems of this product. At least when it gets to the end users, it's made cheaper. That is one. Secondly, when it comes to the issue of demand and supply, Nigeria is a very boosting and growing economy, and there is a lot of demand in the air. And when things are available, it becomes relatively cheaper. That is the modular of trade. So we need to find a way to make sure that we find, most especially food, available to the people, make food very, very available in the sense that it is surplus. And when it's surplus, there is no way, there is no singular factor that will make it not to be cheaper. So these are the things that the government needs to consider. And most especially this poverty alleviation schemes, it is something that the people are depending on to actually curtail the hardship faced by an average Nigerian. The government, the president is working hard. We must really see that it is quite reasonable to say that there is a lot of policies that have been put in place to help curtail this inflation. Now it is time for us to look back to history. What did Goodluck Jonathan do during his time to reduce inflation? What did Obasanjo do during his time to reduce inflation? We can replicate history events. This is something I'm advising the new administration, which I have been part of. We need to learn from history. History is a good teacher. We need to understand how we can also bring back old models that has helped Nigerians subsidize what we need to do, and also ensure that there is enough money for the people to be able to buy basic things they need, and the ones that government can provide, government should provide for the people. And let us also learn best practices. Bank of England recently released a report where they are able to curtail inflation. So we need to examine and study how these other countries are able to reduce these prices through government subsidies, because government are the ones that will help you actually subsidize some of these basic things. And also, I think this is why the president is pushing the tax reform, because the tax reform is something that the president is looking at, finding a way to harmonize all the taxes, now reduce it for those that cannot be able to pay. That is why the tax reform is very important. And once the tax reforms is in place and it is there, you see that value-added tax, all these things will not be such much of a bottleneck to the people. And recently, a very intelligent lady was appointed as DG of Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, which is mandated to ensure that the business environment for every average Nigerian is favorable. So what is the mandate of the DG? She is going to ensure, and I believe that I will also be encouraging her to look at how we can make sure that businesses are not overtaxed. Businesses are very, very well coordinated, and they are enjoying the fruits of their profit, because once there's profit in the land, poverty will be reduced.
Thank you, Fanyi. A lot to be worried about, and of course we're still tracking, and we do hope that these issues can be well managed, because we look at what the former Minister of Women Affairs was trying to also advocate for a lot of changes. Was she perturbed and bothered after the changes the ministerial appointment? Is she discouraged?
No.
If she has opportunity, will she do differently
Yes.
from the way she was going? Because the direction she was going, some Nigerians said probably the ministry is not familiar with that track. She was leading.
Yes.
If she returns, do you feel that she will have to use that approach, or her morale have been steamed down?
No, her morale can never be steamed down. She has a fight she's trying to achieve. Remember, that minister was the only minister that I know that goes by herself to the fire ground, to the situation ground, to report and see the problem by herself and see how she can fix it. You can look at the issue of the school that bullied a child. She went there, shut it down. Even the school in one poor area that she went into it, looking for the principal, looking for the teacher that abused children, different cases that I cannot even start mentioning, that she has gone by herself to intervene. So you see that this is a passionate act from someone that is so dear in love with her country. She wants to see her country well, and she's a businesswoman. So when you see people in business, they don't understand the bottlenecks that we bring in the bureaucratic system and the civil service system. So I think she must, I must tell you that if she comes back, she knows what to do best. She knows how to manage people, but the fire and the passion and the zeal will continue. That is what I assure you.
Is a Luther continue for the minister? Former Minister of Women Affairs, thank you so much, Fanny Raymond, as essay to the immediate past Minister of Women Affairs, for joining us on the show and giving us insight on these issues of the cash transfer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Everyone, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs is explaining and saying that more measures will be taken to forestall political influence in the successful implementation of the program. He has suspended the cash transfers and the national identification number and the bank verification number, and now saying that it is compulsory for all digital transfer for audits and transparency purposes. So it's taking its time to rearrange that ministry. Recall delegations that routed the ministry as at some point under the former Minister Edu, in which a lot of expectations. It was the ministry was established to continue to address the issues of poverty and continue to uplift many Nigerians from the poverty line, and that is the reason why all highs and many highs of Nigerians are on that ministry, to see how the ministry can work. And the minister have given all of these assurances and saying that he will not allow the governors of the state to generate the leads and send that manipulations of leads. A whole lot of concern. That was the essence we needed to have this convention, to track what government are doing and seeing how this can be different, in terms of not doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. This will draw the curtain tonight on the show Big Talk. We'll continue to track all lots of development and bring you to speed what is happening from the presidency, the political parties, and Nigeria at large. My name is Edikan Michael. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. See you again. Policies and political actors are in the news every day, all day. And on our part, we guide you through the noise and get you to the heart of the matter. Big Talk is your home of all angle analysis of the top political stories. Airing weekdays on Global TV, 7 p.m. Big Talk, engaging and insightful.